The evening sky covering the city of Denver was soft with colors, as if painted in watercolors. The clouds, stained orange, gently outlined the silhouette of the Rocky Mountains. In this beautiful scenery, the upscale restaurant, Blue Moon in a corner of downtown, was bustling as usual. Through the large glass windows of the restaurant, one could glimpse the elegantly decorated interior. Crystal chandeliers emitted a soft light, and polished silver cutlery was neatly arranged on white tablecloths. Seated at a prime window table were Sarah Johnson, her 20-year-old daughter Amy, and Sarah's new partner, Michael Brown. Around them wafted lively conversations and the aroma of fine wine. Sarah had her soft blonde hair cut to shoulder length and was dressed in a deep green cocktail dress, exuding the charm of a mature woman. Next to her, Amy, inheriting her mother's beautiful features, had her long brown hair tied back and wore a youthful and casual outfit of a white blouse and denim jacket. Michael, sitting across from them, was neatly dressed in an ironed navy suit, his well-groomed mustache enhancing his sharp features. "Let's celebrate this special day," Michael said with a smile, raising his glass. "To our 1 year of meeting, Sarah, and to Amy, congratulations on starting college." Sarah smiled back warmly, but a slight tension was visible on Amy's face as she unconsciously fiddled with the edge of the tablecloth. "Thank you, Michael." Sarah expressed her gratitude. "I'm really happy you came into our lives." Amy nodded slightly, her eyes harboring an indescribable emotion. "Amy, how's college life? Made any new friends?" Michael asked with a somewhat forced smile. Amy hesitated for a moment before responding. "Yes, well, they're all nice people. But it seems like it will take some time to get used to everything." "Right, college can be tough at first. But you'll definitely make it." Sarah gently placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. Michael slightly lowered the corners of his mouth. "That's right, Amy. You're a smart girl. You'll adapt in no time," he said, his tone slightly tinged with irritation. As the waiter brought the main dishes, the table was adorned with luxurious food. The juicy beef steak emitted a savory aroma. The grilled salmon boasted a perfect golden crust, and the salad, rich with fresh vegetables, was vibrant and colorful. "Let's eat," Michael said cheerily, though his voice carried a faint tension. As he unconsciously fiddled with the edge of the tablecloth, Amy sensed something was off. Michael's usually confident posture seemed stiff today, his shoulders tense. Michael's eyes, more than on the food, were constantly glancing at Amy, watching her reactions. As he reached for his glass, his movements were more cautious than usual, as if he were hiding something. "It looks delicious." "Amy, start with the salad," Michael urged. As Amy picked up her fork, Michael's body leaned forward slightly, his gaze not missing any of her movements, mixed with anticipation and anxiety. Amy took a forkful of salad, but as soon as she ate it, her complexion suddenly changed. "Amy? What's wrong?" Sarah asked worriedly. Amy tried to respond, but was suddenly seized by a violent cough. Her face quickly turned red, and her breathing became rough. "Amy!" Sarah jumped up from her chair and rushed to her daughter's side. Michael also stood up, but his movements were somewhat slow, and his expression revealed an emotion other than surprise. "Someone help!" Sarah's cry echoed through the restaurant. The guests and waiters around were shocked and frozen at Sarah's sudden outburst. Then, a woman in a black apron with long black hair tied back rushed out of the kitchen. "Leave it to me," she said calmly. "It looks like an allergic reaction." The woman approached Amy swiftly yet calmly, took a small syringe from her apron pocket, knelt beside Amy, and confidently grabbed her arm. "It's okay, you'll feel better soon," she whispered as she quickly inserted the syringe into Amy's upper arm. After administering the injection, the woman carefully observed Amy's breathing. Her gaze was sharp, ensuring she didn't miss any movement of Amy's chest, while also checking her pulse with her other hand for any changes. "Breathe deeply," she instructed quietly, her movements efficient and purposeful, reminiscent of someone with years of experience. Minutes later, as Amy's breathing began to stabilize, Olivia's face relaxed, and she calmly announced to the people around, "The crisis is over. However, it would be wise to call an ambulance, just in case." "Thank you so much," Sarah said tearfully, grateful for Olivia's help. "You are?" "I'm Olivia Martinez. I work here as a cleaner." Michael frowned, about to question, why would a cleaner have such? But Sarah's stern gaze cut him off. "Olivia, thank you so much. If it weren't for you..." Sarah's voice choked with tears as she expressed her heartfelt gratitude. And Olivia smiled gently. "It's all right. She just needs to rest now." But her words were drowned out as the restaurant manager arrived. "What happened here?" The manager stood before Olivia with a stern face, his eyes a mix of anger and anxiety. "Olivia, what did you do?" His voice was low, trembling with restrained anger. Unable to respond, Olivia was defended by Sarah, who stepped in. "This lady gave my daughter something like an injection, and it saved her." "An injection? You're just a cleaner. You shouldn't be performing medical actions." Olivia faced the manager directly. "The customer's life was at risk. I administered epinephrine based on her symptoms. Indeed, I don't have a license, but I had a duty to act." "I understand, but rules are rules." Their conversation continued amid the chaos left by broken glass on the restaurant floor. Other patrons were still in shock, whispering among themselves. Soon, the sound of an approaching ambulance siren could be heard. And before long, paramedics rushed into the restaurant and to Amy's side. Sarah held her daughter's hand tightly, tears in her eyes as she watched the paramedics work. "It's okay, Amy. Mom is here." Michael watched from a distance, his arms crossed, his eyes showing a hint of displeasure. As Amy was loaded onto the stretcher and into the ambulance, Olivia stood by quietly, relieved. However, the manager soon confronted her again with a harsh reality. "Olivia, I'm sorry, but I have to let you go. Please pack your things and leave immediately." "I understand. But I believe I did the right thing." Olivia nodded slowly and headed to the staff room to collect her belongings from her locker. As she left the restaurant, she looked back, a mix of conviction that she had done the right thing, sadness at losing her job, and concern for Amy's well-being. That night, the rain that fell over Denver seemed like a harbinger of the events, quietly yet persistently beating the ground. The next morning, in a hospital room, Amy woke up. As she looked up at the white ceiling, trying to piece together the events of the night, she struggled to recall everything. "Good morning, Amy. How are you feeling?" Sitting beside the hospital bed all night, Sarah, with a weary yet relieved expression, gently grasped Amy's hand. Slowly, Amy turned to face her mother. "Mom, what happened?" "You had an allergic reaction at the restaurant. But you're safe now." A look of uncertainty crossed Amy's eyes. "But I wasn't supposed to have any allergies." At that moment, the door opened, and Michael entered, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Good morning, you two." Michael greeted them cheerily. "Amy, how are you feeling?" "Feeling uneasy for some reason." Amy stiffened slightly but responded in a soft voice, "I'm okay, thank you." While arranging the flowers in a vase, Michael remarked, "Last night was really a shock. I had no idea you had allergies, Amy." "Me neither." "Amy, can you think of anything?" "No. I've never had anything like this before." As they spoke, a nurse entered and began checking Amy's condition. "Ms. Johnson, the results of the blood tests are in. There's a strong allergic reaction to a specific food additive. It's unusual not to have noticed it before. But sometimes these things can manifest suddenly." Sarah and Amy looked surprised. Michael started to say something but then closed his mouth. After the nurse left, a heavy silence filled the room until Amy broke it. "Hey, Mom. Do you remember the person who helped me yesterday?" "Yes, Olivia. She worked at the restaurant, seemed to be a cleaner. I'd like to meet her. To thank her." Suddenly, Michael stood up. "There's no need for that." Surprised by his reaction, Sarah asked, "What's the matter, Michael?" "She saved Amy's life." Michael sighed deeply. "I understand, but right now, resting is the most important thing. Amy, don't worry about anything else." Amy nodded silently, but her eyes held a certain determination. Meanwhile, Olivia was at her apartment, reflecting on the previous night's events. Her small, one-bedroom apartment was warm with plants and handmade items. Seated by the window, she looked out at the distant Rocky Mountains and sighed deeply. Although being fired was a significant blow, her mind was more occupied by the mysterious incident at the restaurant. That girl. Amy, wasn't it? Something's off. Such a sudden allergic reaction. Olivia quietly headed to the kitchen and reached for an old leather-bound book on the counter. This book, a treasure passed down from her grandmother, Maria Martinez, held generations of wisdom. As she gently stroked the cover, she could feel the weight of ancestral knowledge. Maria had been a traditional healer born in a remote village in Oaxaca, Mexico. From a young age, she was fascinated by the connection between nature and the human body, learning about herbs and traditional healing from the village elders. Maria had not stopped at traditional knowledge. She eagerly absorbed modern medical information as well. Olivia slowly opened the book and began turning the pages. Her grandmother's delicate handwriting and carefully drawn plant sketches filled the pages, and her eyes stopped on a section titled Sudden Symptoms and Hidden Causes. Maria had been adept at discerning the true causes behind symptoms, emphasizing the importance of uncovering the underlying issues rather than just treating the apparent symptoms. This teaching was deeply ingrained in Olivia. When Olivia had witnessed Amy's symptoms the previous day, her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Do not trust what you see. Seek the truth that lies beneath." Amy's skin changes, her breathing, and above all, the fear in her eyes seemed to indicate something beyond a simple allergic reaction. Olivia turned the page and found a section on symptoms intentionally induced. Could it be? This section detailed reactions similar to allergies caused by specific chemicals. And Maria had warned that such symptoms could sometimes be maliciously induced. Could it not have been an accident? Olivia exhaled deeply. Her grandmother's wisdom and her own intuition were connecting, hinting at the true nature of Amy's condition. Was Amy's condition yesterday not just an allergy, But something induced by someone else? She closed the book with a resolute expression. The knowledge and sense of duty inherited from her grandmother ignited within her. She gazed out the window with a determined look. I have to investigate. For that girl's sake. On the other side, when Amy was discharged that evening, accompanied by Sarah and Michael. Amy, what's wrong? Yeah. I was thinking of going to see Olivia. That's a good idea. But you need to rest for a while. We'll surely find a chance to meet her someday. Hearing their conversation, Michael, opening the car door, said in a somewhat stern tone, "That's enough. Let's go home." The car ride was quiet. Amy gazed out the window, lost in thought, while Sarah occasionally peered at her daughter through the rearview mirror, her expression filled with concern. When they arrived home, Michael quickly excused himself to make a work call and headed to his study. Sarah escorted Amy to her room. Rest well. Sarah kissed her forehead. Call me anytime if you need anything. Thank you, Mom. After Sarah left the room, Amy sat on the bed and sighed deeply. Then took out her smartphone and began searching. Sudden allergic reactions, causes. She murmured softly as she scrolled through the screen. Then, a familiar name caught her eye. Olivia Martinez. Denver's traditional medicine specialist? Amy's eyes widened. This is it. Without hesitation, she dialed the number. Meanwhile, Olivia was continuing her investigation at home. Her room was scattered with various documents, and her notebook was filled with dense notes. Suddenly, her smartphone rang. It was an unknown number, but Olivia intuitively felt it was an important call. Hello, Olivia speaking. Olivia? It's Amy. From the restaurant. Olivia gasped in surprise. Amy. Are you okay? Yes, thanks to you. Amy's voice trembled slightly. Olivia, there's something I want to talk to you about. Sensing something in her voice, Olivia took a deep breath. Understood. I have something to tell you as well. They agreed to meet secretly the next day in a small park in Denver. As autumn sunlight filtered through the golden leaves, Olivia sat on a bench, cautiously scanning the surroundings until Amy appeared. After checking her surroundings multiple times, Amy hurried over to Olivia. Olivia? Olivia smiled warmly. Amy, I'm glad we could meet. So, what did you want to talk about? Amy looked around again before speaking in a low voice. I think something strange happened with that allergic reaction. Olivia nodded. I thought so too. Really? Yes. Can you start by sharing your thoughts? Amy took a deep breath and began to speak slowly. She talked about the discomfort she had felt since Michael started dating her mother, and about recent strange incidents. For example, it seemed like Michael was always concerned about me. But it didn't feel like kindness, it felt like there was another reason. Then, my things started to move around or disappear. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but did anything else bother you? Olivia asked gently, and Amy closed her eyes, pausing to organize her thoughts before speaking. Lately, even stranger things have started happening. My smartphone settings were changed, and my social media login history was erased. And I'm not sure about this, but I think I saw someone tampering with my drink. Not just once, but several times. Amy's voice trembled slightly, and Olivia's expression hardened. Amy, that's very serious. Why didn't you talk to someone about it before? Because I had no proof, and Mom seemed happy. I thought maybe it was all in my head, but now. You're a kind person, Amy. But from what you've told me, the allergic reaction might not have been a coincidence. Amy nodded, adding finally, I heard Michael on the phone sometimes, mentioning my name. But it was like he was talking about me. It felt creepy. Amy, your intuition might be right. I've done some research too. And it's possible that the allergic reaction was artificially induced. What do you mean? Olivia explained her findings that specific chemicals, if mixed into food, could cause allergy-like symptoms. But why would Michael? Amy asked, confused, and Olivia chose her words carefully. We don't know that yet. We need to investigate more. But Amy, your safety comes first. Right. Thank you. After that, the two made a plan for their next steps and promised to keep in touch regularly. I'm home. When Amy returned home, Michael was waiting for her in the living room. Where have you been? His voice was lower and more intimidating than usual, and Amy was shaken, but at a friend's house. She managed to hide her anxiety and replied. Michael then stared at her and said, I see. Be careful. It's dangerous out there these days. Amy felt a chill down her spine but hurried to her room. Once inside, she immediately took out her smartphone and sent a message to Olivia. Be careful. Michael might be suspicious. Olivia replied quickly. Understood. Let's be careful. That night, Amy couldn't sleep. Her mind was filled with anxiety and fear, but at the same time, a strong determination to uncover the truth had taken root. As the morning sun gently illuminated the city, Amy woke up. She had hardly slept the night before, but her eyes held a firm resolve. During breakfast, Sarah was baking pancakes in the kitchen, and the sweet aroma filled the room. When Sarah saw Amy, she smiled gently. Good morning, Amy. Did you sleep well? Amy nodded slightly. Yes, well enough. Michael entered from the living room while reading the newspaper. Good morning, everyone. He sat down casually next to Amy, who stiffened unconsciously. Amy, what are your plans for today? Michael asked nonchalantly. I was thinking of going to the university. I need to look up some materials for an assignment. Michael frowned. Really? But you're not fully well yet. Wouldn't it be better to rest at home? Yes, Amy. You shouldn't push yourself. Amy took a deep breath and said in a calm voice. I'm fine. Actually, going out might be refreshing. Sarah and Michael looked at each other but ultimately respected Amy's decision. A few days later, an opportunity came for Amy. Sarah and Michael had planned to go out for a meal together. Amy, are you okay to be alone? Yes. I'm completely fine now. Enjoy your meal. Thank you. Then we'll be off. Amy waved them off with a smile, but her heart was pounding fiercely. While Michael is out, this is my only chance. Once in Michael's study, Amy immediately focused on his laptop. She took a deep breath, turned on the power, and a screen asking for a password appeared. Amy hesitated for a moment but then intuitively entered her mother's birthday. And the lock was successfully unlocked. Amy, with trembling hands, opened the browser history and found search histories that supported her suspicions. She gasped and then whispered to herself, I need evidence. She quickly took photos of the screen with her smartphone. Next, Amy searched throughout the house and finally went to the garage. She stopped by Michael's car, resolved herself. and opened the trunk where she found small chemical bottles. Wearing gloves, she picked up a bottle and read the label. This is. She didn't understand the chemical formula, but the warning labels made it clear it was a dangerous substance. Amy took a photo of the bottle with trembling hands and carefully replaced it, whispering with a shaky voice, "This can prove it." Afterwards, Amy hurried back to her room and sent a message to Olivia. "Can we meet at the library soon? I have something important to discuss." Understood. Next Friday at noon, in the history section of the library. Amy sighed with relief, grateful to have someone on her side. Near noon on the appointed day, Amy arrived at the library and cautiously checked her surroundings before heading to the history section. "Olivia." Amy called out softly when she spotted Olivia between the bookshelves. Olivia turned around, her face expressing relief. "Amy. Anything new?" "Yes. I found some things on his laptop and in the trunk of his car that could serve as evidence." Amy showed her the photos, and Olivia looked at them solemnly. "You did well to find these, Amy. I've done some research too." She pulled out a small notebook from her bag. "There are some concerning things about Michael's past." "What do you mean?" Olivia took a deep breath and began to explain carefully. Her expression was serious, and her eyes showed a hint of anxiety. "He was married before." Amy looked surprised but continued to listen silently. "His ex-wife's name was Jennifer Brown. She disappeared suddenly 10 years ago." She referred to the information in her notebook as she continued. "According to police records, Jennifer was last seen in May 10 years ago. Her family and friends were shocked by her sudden disappearance." "And then, what happened?" "The investigation was carried out, but no conclusive evidence was found. Michael claimed that his wife had just left suddenly, and he had an alibi. However, there are some troubling aspects. According to one of Jennifer's friends, she had been acting differently for weeks before she disappeared. She seemed anxious and felt like she was being watched." "It's just like me." Olivia gently took Amy's pale hand and continued. "Another concerning detail is about Jennifer's bank account. After her disappearance, no money has been withdrawn from it. It's as if she didn't leave of her own free will." Amy finished in a quiet voice, and Olivia nodded sadly. "Exactly. The police dropped the investigation due to lack of evidence. But many questions were left unanswered." Amy stared at her hands, a mix of confusion and fear on her face. Olivia added quietly, "Amy, this is still speculation. But your intuition and these past incidents, there might be a connection." Amy slowly looked up, meeting Olivia's gaze. Fear mixed with a strong resolve in her eyes. "Olivia, what should I do? We'll uncover the truth together. But we must act very cautiously. Your safety is the priority." "Yes, I understand." As their conversation was about to end, Amy's phone rang. Michael's name displayed on the screen. Amy answered, startled. "Hello, Michael?" "Amy, where are you?" His voice sounded stricter than usual. At the library." "Really?" "I'm actually nearby. Should I come pick you up?" Amy panicked for a moment but quickly regained her composure. Thanks. But I'm almost done here." After hanging up, Amy quickly told Olivia. "Michael seems to be nearby. I need to leave now." "Understood. Be careful. Contact me immediately if anything happens." Amy hurried out of the library. To her surprise, she saw Michael's car parked across the street. and he was getting out and walking towards her. "Hey, Amy." "Michael, what are you doing here?" Michael smiled lightly. "Just passing by on my way back from work." "You said you were at the library, right? I saw you as I was passing and thought I'd say hi." They got into the car. The atmosphere inside was tense. "Did you go to the library to study? Did it go well?" "Yes, it went okay." Michael gripped the steering wheel and asked in an inquiring tone. "So, did you meet anyone you know?" Amy's heart raced, but she responded with a calm voice. "No, not really." Michael nodded silently, but his eyes held something cold. When they arrived home, Sarah greeted them with a worried look. "Amy, are you all right? Did you overdo it?" "I'm fine, Mom. Just a bit tired." The next day, after finishing her university classes, Amy returned home and saw Sarah and Michael having a serious conversation in the living room. They stopped talking abruptly when they saw her. "Welcome home, Amy," Sarah said with a slight tension. Michael stood up and walked towards Amy. "Amy, we need to talk." Despite feeling nervous, Amy tried to maintain her composure. "What is it?" Michael took a deep breath and said, "I'm worried about your health. Ever since that allergic reaction, you've been acting strangely. So, we think you should see a specialist," Sarah added. Amy looked at them in surprise. "A specialist?" "But I'm fine," Michael said sternly. "No, you're not. Your safety is the most important thing. I've made an appointment for tomorrow." Amy wanted to protest, but swallowed her words when she saw the worried look on Sarah's face. "All right." Late that night, Amy secretly called Olivia. "Olivia, there's trouble," Amy whispered quickly, explaining the situation. Olivia responded calmly. "Stay calm, Amy. This could be a good opportunity. Let's find out more about this specialist." The next day, Amy was taken by Sarah and Michael to a clinic in a high-rise building. The waiting room was luxurious, with expensive paintings on the walls. "Ms. Johnson." A nurse called out, and Amy took a deep breath and stood up. Sarah attempted to accompany her, but Michael stopped her. "It's okay, Sarah. Amy is an adult." Inside the examination room, a middle-aged male doctor in a white coat smiled kindly. "Hello, Amy. I'm Dr. Brown." While observing the doctor, Amy remembered Olivia's words. "If something feels off, get out immediately." The examination began, and Dr. Brown asked various questions. However, Amy noticed that his inquiries went beyond a standard health check, probing into her personal life and relationships. "Have you met anyone new recently?" Dr. Brown asked casually, but Amy hesitated for a moment. "No, not really." The doctor put down his pen and looked at her seriously. "Amy, Michael is worried that you have been acting unstable lately. Is there anything you'd like to talk about?" Amy felt a chill. Was this doctor really concerned about her health, or? "I'm fine," Amy asserted firmly. "Actually, I'm worried about Michael." Dr. Brown frowned. "What do you mean?" "Recently, Michael's behavior has been strange. It's like he's watching me." The doctor began taking notes. "I see. You seem to have some paranoid tendencies," Amy exclaimed in surprise. "That's not true. I'm telling the truth." Without showing any concern, Dr. Brown stood up and headed for the door. "Please calm down. I'll call your family." Amy panicked. This situation had far exceeded her expectations. She quickly took out her smartphone to send an SOS message to Olivia. But the door opened, and she hastily put her phone back in her pocket. At that moment, Michael entered the room. His expression was worried, but Amy felt there was something else hidden beneath it. "Amy, are you okay?" Amy sat deep in the chair, trying to appear as calm as possible. "Yes, I'm fine. Miss Johnson, there are a few things I'd like to discuss about your daughter's condition." Dr. Brown began as Michael nodded and turned to Amy. "Could you wait outside for a bit?" Feeling anxious, Amy quietly left the examination room. In the waiting room, Sarah stood up with a worried expression. "How did it go?" Amy looked into her mother's eyes, about to say something, but words failed her. Just then, her smartphone vibrated. She discreetly checked the screen. It was a message from Olivia. "Emergency? Contact me immediately." Taking a deep breath, Amy turned to her mother. "Mom, I need to go to the restroom for a bit." With a puzzled nod from Sarah, Amy hurried to the bathroom and quickly called Olivia. "Olivia. It seems like this doctor is connected to Michael. He's trying to diagnose me as mentally unstable." Olivia's voice was calm, yet tense. "Understood, Amy. You need to leave there immediately. I'm on my way, just buy some time." After hanging up, Amy composed herself. Exiting the restroom, she saw Michael had returned to the waiting area. "Amy, let's go back to the examination room." His voice had a commanding tone, prompting Amy to make a quick decision. "Sorry, Michael. I suddenly feel ill. I need some fresh air." Michael frowned, clearly dissatisfied with her response. "Wait, Amy. Dr. Brown wants to talk a bit more." But Amy was already heading towards the elevator. "I'll be right back." Just before the elevator doors closed, she saw Michael's anxious face. When she reached the ground floor, she hurried outside. The cold autumn wind brushed her cheeks. She looked around for Olivia, and then a voice called from behind. "Amy." Turning around, she saw Michael coming out of the building. There was no trace of kindness in his eyes. Instinctively, she started running. Through the bustling streets, she continued desperately. Michael's shouting echoed behind her. "Amy. Come back." She turned a corner and hid behind a parked car. Holding her breath, she sent a message to Olivia. "Help. Michael is chasing me." Seconds later, a reply came. "I'm on my way. Don't move." Amy wiped the sweat from her forehead with trembling hands. She couldn't believe this was real. Flashbacks of her first meeting with Michael, her mother's happy smiles, and the gradually changing atmosphere at home raced through her mind. Everything was starting to connect. Suddenly, she heard the screeching of car brakes nearby. Cautiously looking up, she saw Olivia's car stopping right in front of her. "Hurry, get in," Olivia shouted, and Amy didn't hesitate to jump into the car. As they drove away, she caught a glimpse of Michael in the rearview mirror. His face was a mix of anger and frustration. "Are you okay?" Olivia asked with concern. Amy took a deep breath before answering. "Yes, but what do we do now?" Olivia's expression was serious. "First, we go to a safe place. Then, we'll reveal everything." Feeling both fear and relief at approaching the truth, Amy sensed the upcoming challenges might change her and her mother's lives forever. However, she was resolved. For the sake of the future, she was determined to pursue the truth. Olivia's car left the chaos of Denver and entered a quiet suburban area. Amy looked out the window, trying to process everything that had happened. "Here we are," Olivia said, stopping in front of a small house. They hurried inside. The living room was decorated with old furniture and various pictures of herbs and plants on the walls. "This is a safe place. No one knows about it." "Olivia, thank you." "But what now?" Olivia looked at Amy seriously. "First, we need to contact your mother. She might be in danger too." Amy paled. "Mom, yes, I need to call her right away." She took out her smartphone, only to see dozens of missed calls and worried messages already displayed. "It's from Mom," she said with a trembling voice. Olivia nodded. "Calm down. First, let her know you're safe." Amy took a deep breath and called her mother. "Amy. Where are you? Are you okay?" Sarah's voice was a mix of panic and relief, but Amy tried to reassure her calmly. "Mom, I'm safe. But you need to be careful. Michael, he might be dangerous." On the other end, Sarah gasped. "Amy, what happened?" "Michael said he's calling the police." "Mom, can you listen calmly?" "Yes. It started with small things." Amy began, choosing her words carefully. "Michael has been coming to our house. I've had a strange feeling about him. He was always smiling and kind, but something was off." She paused for a moment, took a deep breath, and continued. "For example, Michael frequently entered my room. He said he was helping with cleaning, but my things were slowly being moved and disappearing. Also, my phone settings were changed. But, Mom, the incident at the restaurant changed everything. I suddenly fell ill, and that's when I met Olivia. She helped me, and she told me the truth." "Olivia helped you?" "Yes. We've been in contact secretly. Olivia investigated for me. Michael has a past. His ex-wife is missing. And there's a possibility that Michael intentionally caused my allergic reaction." "What do you mean?" Sarah sounded panicked and unable to grasp the situation, so Amy quickly added, "Mom, it might be hard to believe, but there's evidence. I found a search history about my allergy on Michael's computer, and from his car. I found substances that could harm me." Her voice was now strong and resolute. "Mom, we might be in danger. Michael is trying to hurt us. Please, believe me. We have to do something." Amy finished speaking and waited for her mother's reaction. Her heart was pounding and her hands were trembling. But she felt a sense of relief for having spoken the truth, mixed with the anxiety of what was to come. "Mom?" Amy called out, and a faint sigh could be heard. Sarah's voice trembled. "Michael, doing such things." "But Amy, I choose to believe you. What should we do?" Olivia placed her hand on Amy's shoulder and nodded quietly. "Mom, you need to leave the house right now without letting Michael notice. Come to Olivia's place. I'll send you the address." "Understood. I'll be careful on my way." After hanging up, Amy slumped into the sofa tiredly. "Did I do the right thing?" Olivia smiled gently. "You made the right choice, Amy. Now, let's organize the evidence." The two began sorting through the information and evidence they had gathered. Michael's past, his suspicious behavior, and his connection to the doctor were all laid out in chronological order. "With all this, the police should take action," Olivia stated. Just then, the front doorbell rang. Amy and Olivia looked at each other in surprise. Olivia quietly approached the door, peeked through the peephole and, with a sigh of relief, informed Amy of her mother's arrival. "It's okay, it's your mom." When the door opened, a weary-looking Sarah stood there. "Mom." Amy rushed to embrace her, and Sarah hugged her back tightly. "Amy. I'm so relieved you're safe." The three sat in the living room and shared the situation anew. Sarah occasionally wiped away tears as she listened to her daughter and Olivia. "I didn't notice anything." "Amy, I'm sorry for making you feel uneasy." Olivia gently took Sarah's hand, who looked troubled by feelings of guilt. "You're a victim too, Sarah." Michael was clever at hiding everything. Amy also placed her hand on her mother's shoulder. "Mom, what's important is what happens now. Let's reveal the truth together." Sarah took a deep breath and her expression became determined. "Yes, it's time to take back our lives." Late that night, the three went to the police station with their collected evidence and gave detailed testimonies. The police officer listened intently and, after carefully reviewing the evidence, spoke seriously. "This is a serious allegation. We will start an investigation. Stay in a safe place until then." As they left the police station, stars twinkled in the night sky. Amy looked up and whispered, "Everything will be okay. We're together." Sarah and Olivia also looked up at the sky and nodded quietly. A few days later, they received a call from the police. A warrant had been issued for Michael's arrest, but he had already disappeared. His bank accounts were empty, and there were signs his passport had been used. Realizing he might have fled the country, Michael had possibly escaped abroad. Hearing this news, Amy, Sarah, and Olivia shed tears of relief mixed with an indescribable anxiety. "It's not over yet," Amy declared with renewed determination. "There may still be mysteries in Michael's past." "Yes. Let's keep investigating." Weeks passed as Amy and Sarah temporarily lived with Olivia, working together to investigate Michael's past and his ex-wife's disappearance. Then, they received a call that Michael had been detained in Mexico. Amy, Sarah, and Olivia wept with relief upon hearing the news. And on the day of the trial, as Michael Brown stood in the courtroom, his eyes held a cold glint, and a faint smile played on his lips. As the judge said, "Let's hear your testimony, Defendant Michael Brown." Michael began to speak defiantly. "Yes, I did it. But, is that a problem?" His unexpected admission caused an uproar in the courtroom. Amy and Sarah trembled, Olivia frowned. But Michael continued without a care for the shocked reactions of those around him. "About Amy's allergy? Actually, neither Amy nor Sarah knew about it. That's because I created it." Shocked waves rippled through the courtroom, and Amy and Sarah wore expressions of astonishment. "I used to work at a pharmaceutical company, where I learned that certain compounds could trigger allergy-like symptoms. I studied Amy's physiology and identified substances likely to react with her." His voice carried no regret, rather, he seemed proud. "Over several weeks, I added minute amounts of the substance to her food, sensitizing her body gradually." When the prosecutor sharply asked, "And the incident at the restaurant?" Michael coldly replied, "When I made the reservation, I requested a special spice mix be added to Amy's dish. It was actually the reactive substance I had prepared. It was easy to give it directly to the chef. I told them it was a special blend tailored for someone important, and they complied without suspicion." "Why did you go to such lengths?" the prosecutor asked again. Michael hesitated before replying. "Amy was in the way. I thought if she were gone, Sarah would be completely mine. If I could eliminate her. And what about the disappearance of your former wife, Jennifer Brown? Michael smirked as he answered. Jennifer? She was a nuisance too. She kept finding faults and demanded a divorce. So I made her disappear. Where is she? Well, who knows? He then looked at Amy and Sarah with eyes filled with madness and obsession. Sarah, we can be together again. Amy, you should have disappeared. You ruined my perfect life. As his testimony concluded, the judge delivered a stern verdict. Considering the defendant Michael Brown's confession and his malicious attitude, I sentence him to life imprisonment for the attempted murder of Amy Johnson and the murder of his former wife, Jennifer Brown. As they left the courthouse, the Denver sky was clear. Amy, Sarah, and Olivia looked at each other under the bright sun. It's over, Sarah said, relieved. Amy hugged her mother. Yes, and it's a new beginning. Olivia joined the embrace. We got through it together. That evening, they held a small celebration dinner at Olivia's house. To a new life, Olivia toasted, and Amy and Sarah clinked glasses. To new beginnings. After dinner, Amy asked, "What now?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah replied, "First, I think we should look for a new house. And I want to use our experience to help others." Olivia's eyes sparkled. That's a wonderful idea. I'd like to help. I plan to study psychology at university. I want to be there for people who are hurting. The three of them joined hands. Before them lay a future filled with hope. Months later, Amy, Sarah, and Olivia founded a support group called A New Step. This group became a safe haven for people struggling with domestic issues and abuse. Amy studied psychology while counseling the group's youth. Sarah used her experience to empathize with the victims. Olivia combined her traditional knowledge with modern medicine to care for the members holistically. The group gradually grew, and many people from all over Denver began to gather. Their activities were highly regarded by the community, and they eventually attracted national attention. One day, a 5th anniversary party for A New Step was held. The venue was filled with many people who had received help from the group. Amy took the stage and began speaking to the attendees. 5 years ago, we were in darkness. But we learned that we are not alone and that we can overcome any hardship. Sarah and Olivia joined her on stage. The journey we've shared with you all these years is invaluable. We'll keep moving forward, never letting the light of hope dim. Olivia added, smiling. Together, we can weather any storm and build a better future. The hall erupted in warm applause, filled with faces of people who had overcome adversity and were embarking on new lives. As Amy, Sarah, and Olivia looked around, tears of pride and gratitude glistened in their eyes. At that moment, they deeply felt that no matter how tough the past was, with love and courage, a new path would always open. And they were not walking that path alone. As the sun set over the city of Denver, the light of A New Step shone brighter, symbolizing hope. This light was a testament to how Amy, Sarah, and Olivia had overcome their own adversities and illuminated the lives of many others. Their story teaches the importance of perseverance in the face of difficulties and the value of supporting one another. It reminds everyone of the strength and potential within themselves, making it a tale that should be passed down forever.